Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support. And thank you guys for showing love on every single episode. I have a guest with me today, a reoccurring guest, Cruz. You guys, if you
Yes.
guys have not seen, he was in a recent episode. Well, semi-recent. It was about, almost a year ago
It was
now?
probably almost a year ago now. Yeah.
Yeah?
Somewhere around then. I don't
Yeah.
even know. But hey, this is our third conversation together on camera. So,
Yeah.
yes, because you joined, for those who don't know, he joined as a guest on our other show, the Encore podcast, that has been put to rest for a little bit. But, that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's great to be here with you today, my brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. You are doing a lot right now
Yeah.
in your personal life.
Yeah.
Over these past 6 months.
Mostly professional life, which for me cross over a lot. And I think I'm blessed in that way. That like for me, my personal life, for me, the distinction I make is personal is like interpersonal. Like my relationships with people. That's how I look at personal. And I think I chose a path that works great for me because in my professional life, I get to talk to people, and that's my favorite part of it, is to have those deep, intimate conversations about people's journeys, about people's goals, and to be able to find a role that will help them further that. So, I'm sure you're going to get to this, but primarily I consider myself a producer manager. So right now, I manage a roster of about I run two companies. So one company is called Producer Royalty. I started this from the ground up about 5 months ago. My vision for it was to offer management services on a placement by placement basis. And what I mean by that is, as a producer, a lot of times you don't need a full manager. You're not like an artist where you have all these like sort of commitments and touring and all these various moving parts. As a producer, there's these issues with collecting payments. You get a placement on a major label and the label often doesn't reach out to you. What do? So the main service I offer is I reach out to the label and I try to get my producers paid. So that was the vision for Producer Royalty, going very well so far. I've been doing about like 5 months, and got a roster of about like 30 producers right now that I oversee. And then I have this other company called Back End Music Group, and with them, they sign producers the full management deal. Shout out my brother Elijah; he does a phenomenal job overseeing them. Very similar type of thing, and I've taken over as CEO of that company pretty recently too. So very much intertwined visions, but it's been going great so far. And I just feel blessed to be doing it.
What's it like? I know I asked you this before we were on camera, but what's it like being a CEO? Like the whole rundown. What has it been for you? What have you noticed about yourself? And what does it actually take to be a successful CEO in your eyes?
I think that the biggest part about running a company and to be a CEO, I think, and I'm so new in it that like I'm not talking from a place of like full understanding, but my understanding of it is I need to have a vision that allows other people to fit in and see themselves within it. And what I mean by that is, like, if you want people, especially right now when I'm first starting out, the people who work for me or work with me, they're my partners more than anything. Like, they are a phenomenal team and they believe in my vision. And I try to, like, give them space and opportunities to be able to work their skill set and put it within mine and to collaborate with them. So for me, I think that the most important thing is to just make people feel encouraged and welcomed and to stimulate them to, like, really insert themselves and feel attached to the mission of it. I think that probably where most startups fail is that the employees don't feel attached to the growth of the mission. So it's like you're not going to have that startup energy, that spirit that like will take you to burst through to like the next level of not being a startup. So I think that, I try to I reinforce more than anything how grateful I am for my team and how there is something, if you attach yourself to this now, there is something for you in the medium to long term, like whether that's equity, a great role, like you get to build relationships with amazing people right now. So for me, I think just like I'm trying to embrace that sort of like overseer dot connector and put myself in a position where I'm not working in the business, I'm working on the business. So, and that's been the most difficult transition for me, I would say, is to like take the day to day and be able to delegate that and trust and have trust in people.
It's interesting because when I hear CEOs and when I think of CEOs, I think of like nonstop work. 24/7. They're always on the clock.
Yeah.
And no rest. Has your schedule been kind of like that? Has it been very similar to not resting as much, or you're on the clock 24/7, phone calls and
Yeah.
other things like that? Has that been a little bit of what your schedule has looked like?
My schedule, there's not a single 10 minutes that goes by where I'm not thinking about something related to it. So like I especially in like the music space, and especially in the management space, like, and I have 50 producers I'm working with that all have placements on major labels, and it's just like all of them are reaching out at some point, and like if I want to build a good, and they're all new with me, so like making a good first impression and making like the first couple months working with me memorable and impactful and like feeling attached to like my company and my mission, like that takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of like, I don't want to answer this message right now, but I should and I will. So I definitely feel like my schedule, I mean, like, I love it though. Like I started this conversation with, it's like having these conversations and being able to even be in touch with these people. And I've only been doing this I've only been in the music industry for a year, 2 years. Like I feel so grateful for like all of it, for most of it. And like I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. So it's like, for me, work-life balance can be really silly because if you like what you do, then why would you do less of that? Like, so it's just a matter of just being able to walk that tightrope where like you're always just at least in check with like whatever your North Star is, whether that's happiness. For me, I'd rather it be pride. I'd rather whatever I'm going through right now to just feel proud of that, because happiness is going to come in waves. And pride, I think we can all stand on that, true. So like for me, I don't want to get too caught up in the highs, and I obviously not the lows either. So
over these past 6 months, we've had a conversation that you said that you've learned a lot about yourself, and the conversation was, when I first asked you, oh, do you want to be on the podcast, you said yeah, can't wait. Learned a lot about myself. What are some of those things that you've learned about yourself? Has there been any lows, and if so, what have those been?
Well, first I want to say that like coming on this show is not something that like I'm necessarily like, I think this is like a form of therapy for me, and like not only will I get some content after this and an opportunity to reach a new, a little bit of a new audience and everything, but like this is an opportunity for me to think about questions that like I haven't really thought about, and it's very rare to find people like you who love to have these conversations. So first of all, I really want to say thank you for that.
I appreciate
and
that.
I really respect that. So over the last 2 months, so the question was, what are some things that I've experienced or learned about myself?
Yeah.
Because
you said it's a form of therapy, so
Yeah.
there's been must have been those tough conversations.
There's a lot. Went through a breakup like 6 months ago, and in that relationship, I would say that I was going through some loss of myself. I am somebody that's very much a people pleaser. We had this conversation, I think, last time, but like I really find myself turning into somebody that the other person across from me wants me to be or has an expectation of. So for me, the biggest thing has been just sort of taking a lot of alone time, and then also putting myself in rooms where I feel like I relate to people. So I think that the most powerful thing I've done recently is when I go to an event and I meet somebody, I like their energy, I fuck with their spirit, I think we could build and work off of each other in some type of way. After that event, not only do I get their contact, I look them in the eyes the entire time, and like, I express whatever positivity I feel towards them. I invite them out the next time I go somewhere. And I've been keeping doing that over and over and over again. And I think a lot of people have like too much pride sometimes. Like maybe if they're going somewhere by themselves, they don't want to invite somebody that they just met by themselves, like, to go. But like for me, like that has snowballed into like a cycle of finding people that like I really, and surrounding myself and creating a new circle. So like for me, the most powerful thing for me has just been showing support and like inviting people to come out with me. And it seems like such a simple thing, but like I don't think enough people, like people think I have to know you forever to invite you to this next event, like, and stuff like that. So that's been great. What's another thing I learned about myself? I learned that I really need to just find more habits that suit me. And that's an obvious, simple answer. But like, I think that like I need to find more time to just sit down and reflect and not be overcommitted. So like I have such a personal relationship type of job industry, and I need those like to come up with creative new ideas, you need that alone time that like maybe that's first thing in the morning, first 2 hours. For me, recently it's been like from like 11 p.m. to like 2 a.m. on like Saturday nights. Like, so putting that time I was usually out to the side and like spending those times like ideating and stuff. Like, so I just learned the importance of really, you know, having that alone time and using it to be creative and putting everything else on hold for that time.
I like your first point in regards to where you kind of you talked a little bit about just being able to spend some time with somebody that you just met.
Yeah.
And I think that's like incredibly important, just because I guess one thing that I think is overlooked sometimes is if you like somebody's energy, there's this whole stigma of, oh, you need to wait a certain amount of time to rekindle with them or see them.
Yeah.
And obviously too much sometimes could be too much.
Yeah.
But it's just like this feeling that you get. Like your body will literally tell you how you should be reacting or interacting with this person.
Yeah.
You know, most of the times it's like we have this gut feeling. Oh, you're going to like a date or you're going to an event. And all of a sudden, you just get like this pit gut feeling, and you're just like, well, maybe I'm anxious, I'm nervous,
Yeah.
but sometimes that your body is telling you something, and sometimes we need to listen to that. And in those interactions, I guess, like you said, just putting your pride to the side. As humans and especially as men, we can be extremely prideful, where it's like, oh, I like hanging out with this person, so I'm gonna, I'm not gonna let them know that I'm interested or I care about them, or and it's such a messed up way to think.
Yeah, and I stick out like a sore thumb in like a lot of hip hop rooms because I'm the one that is the most active in this room, trying to engage with everybody and coming across weird to some people. You don't understand how people can be confrontational in certain rooms in hip hop. So it's like I invite people out, and then they're the guy that's like feels too cool to be the person in the front of the stage and like supporting the random artists and all that type of stuff. And like I don't know, I'll be the guy. I'd rather be. I like being in a new room. All right, this is something really powerful that I've done recently too. So when you enter a new room and you don't know what the room is like, you don't know anybody in that room. I go to a lot of things by myself, or at least I was a couple months ago when I first was out of the relationship, and I just wanted to find new people. A lot of times people wait. They go into the corner. They walk in. They go to the back corner. They maybe get a drink at the bar. They're kind of looking around, trying to scout it. Blah blah blah. My thing is now, as soon as I walk in the room, first person I see, I start a conversation with them.
Wow.
Insert them. Pretend like or act like that this is a room that I belong in, and I have something like I'm not the... People notice you, whether you think it or whether they notice you or they know that they noticed you. They watch you walk in, look around, go to the corner, kind of scout around. It's kind of like it kind of puts people on like a little edge about you. You know what I mean? So it's if you walk in, you start a conversation with somebody. Yo, what's up? Hey, it's great to meet you, bro. And they don't know you, but they know you just walked in. You're starting with them, and they just insert yourself into that conversation. Like you'll feel right away that you belong way more in this room. The other person kind of feels like, oh yeah, this is like so. Like I love to talk to the people. I also love to talk to the people in the room that also. Maybe that first person I described that goes into the back room is by themselves, quiet, blah, blah. I love to just like, I stopped looking at rooms as a war zone, and I look at them as like a playground now. So it's like, just the word room. It's weird, but like, I like that. Like, I like that, like, this is a good room. I like the idea of a good room, which is like weird, but like, I just like, I love the networking, people, like connecting the dots. Like, people will say I'm a transactional person. I am a transactional person, but I don't really see anything wrong with that. I see that I have my goals, and I love to play this game of like who in here can help me achieve them. And like I've learned that, maybe sometimes like at first when I first started having conversations with strangers and like, I would be fishing for something that would immediately feed my like what I'm looking for, but like especially as an entrepreneur, you have so many things you're trying to achieve. You never know what this person could say to you that like will help you. You never know what's in them. So like looking at everybody as an opportunity and a book, and like I want everybody that's in my close circle to be better than me at something. It could be anything. It could literally be anything. But I try to surround myself with people who, in some way, they inspire me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what regard, when you say transactional, in what regard do you, like, are you referring to when you
Yeah.
say transactional? Because some people could hear that and it's like, oh, he's using me, or he's just taking from me. So I guess I would want you to elaborate on that in regards to what do you define as like transactional?
Yeah. So I see it as this relationship either makes my life better, contributes to it better, or it makes it worse. It's one of the two. So if I'm interacting with somebody, I want it to be one that makes my life or my experience better. And it could be in any way. It could be, you made me laugh, you made me smile. Like, if you're somebody that is just a good time, you like to dance, if I'm in a room, I'll go next to you and I'm trying to get excited. I'm going next to you and I'm engaging with you, and that's transactional. I'm trying to get something from this. But like, I think that, like, you know, especially if I'm going out for like my career and I'm trying to network in my like, I'm trying to build relationships that help me level up to the next thing. But I've learned this: the most random opportunities. This one A&R I'm working with right now, Jeff. Jeff was a great guy. I love him. He's really inspiring me right now and really helping me achieve next levels in my life. I met him through this one random person I met at a bar who kind of was that same type of person who wasn't really talking to people that much, but I showed him so much interest, and I just like, I had a great conversation with him, and, you know, I was engaging with him, and I didn't get anything from that, but I did a year down the line when he was like, hey, my friend is looking for an entertainment. So like, just being a good person to people turns out to be transactional a lot of times. People remember that. You know what I mean? So I'm transactional in the sense I am looking for something from this conversation. Always. Yeah. I'm always looking for something, and I'm okay with that, you know? And that's been a transition for me too.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that in what you were regarding to getting out of something, whether it's good or bad, I don't think that it's anything. It's nothing that is ever bad, right? Like, when you're having a conversation with somebody, it's always a new perspective shift. And I guess one thing that I'm like starting to adopt as of late, or not adopt, but I was literally up late last night and I was just thinking about this, is that to some people, this might be like a little off topic, but to some people, when some people say that they're like never wrong, I don't personally think that anybody is ever wrong. And here's why. Because in your mind, from your perception, your brain is perceiving that as right.
Okay.
And whatever that
2 + 4?
Maybe. But it's like, I don't know. It's weird thing, because how can to other people, they're perceiving that as wrong. Mm-hmm. But their perspective in their mind is right. Mm-hmm. Because that's just the way that they're looking at it. That's just the way that they're thinking about it. Uh-huh. And most people can't like live inside your brain. Uh-huh. So in your brain's circumstances, whatever you may be doing is right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's one of those things where actually Pancho said it. It's not right or wrong. It just is. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's a useful way to look at it for sure too. I try to look at things through that framework as well too, because it's like, yeah, like it's more like what it is, but it's like, what can I do with this information? How can I use whatever I believe or this person is thinking, and like, how can I, I guess bringing it back to the transactional thing, it's just like anything that somebody else expresses or I feel, it's just a matter of like, I'll lie to myself to get the result I want, and I think that's okay. I think that, like, if you tell yourself depression doesn't exist and you really believe that, and you really get yourself to feel like, I'm not somebody who can be depressed, then that is a belief that kind of serves you. So what beliefs serve you? And building off of that a little bit, to have confidence and ego are different things. Confidence is having evidence that you're able to do something. Ego, this is how I look at it, at least. Ego a lot of times comes from like a just sort of like telling yourself you're something and just really believing that without a lot of times much evidence. I make this distinction. This is a belief that serves me, at least. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's just like, if I want to believe I'm a good public speaker, I need to have evidence that I'm a good public speaker. If I really want to believe it, I can't just go up there. I've never been on stage in front of 1,000 people, and like, you know, even right now, like I haven't been on camera in a while. You probably heard my voice when I started this. It was a little shaky. I wasn't confident, but now in the last 20 minutes, I got my like spirit up, and now I feel like I'm on camera for the first time. You know what I mean? So like, I think that like, yeah, I try to like really give myself opportunities to fail and accepting that, and just until the point where it's like I've done this enough times where I feel confident, and I'm not just telling myself something. I'm not just telling myself I'm not somebody. I'm somebody who could public speak. I actually see examples, and I've gone through that, and that only starts from doing it the first time. So the sooner you can fail, the better. Like everybody talks about failure, but it's like.
How did you experience the confidence that you've had? Like what was it through? What was it through those hardships that over the past couple months? Was it those conversations with yourself when you would go out by yourself and kind of separate? Because like hearing that, like going into a room and just finding somebody that takes extreme confidence to just do that.
Yeah. So one of it is niching down and specializing in something that like I understand, and I really value niching down to something that's highly specific as much. Like that's what the market wants right now. Like if you people okay, so what's in the back of my mind right now is in the legal space, right? People think that if I'm a lawyer, if I say I do personal injury, and I do malpractice, and I do entertainment, and I do this, like people think you'll get more clients. You're not going to get more clients from that. It's actually the opposite. I'm reading this book called The Game Changing Attorney. It's about basically that, or I read it. The value is in the niches. There's people who are truck accident attorneys, and they're very much specifically for truck accidents. So you put that in a paper. Somebody sees truck accident attorney. If they look up truck, I've been in a truck accident. There's only 2 people that do that. They're going to go to you. You're going to get a ton of value from that. So I'm doing that right now in the music space. When I was talking to people when I got into music, when I was getting into law school and stuff, I was like, I guess I didn't even talk about that. But if you don't know me, I'm about to be a lawyer next year. I'm in my last year of law school, going into music law specifically. And this producer business was something that I'm using to build a foundation off of, so I have a client base and a roster and understanding and a connection in the music industry when I become a lawyer. So
this guy does it all, basically.
Yeah. So I'm sorry this is a long-winded answer, but what I'm trying to say is my goal right now, and reason why I've been able to move so fast and grow so quickly, is because I've niched down to not just music. I've niched down to not just hip-hop, to producers. So I'm going to be the only producer lawyer that exists. I'm going to be the only person that brands himself as that. There's not any that exist besides the one that I worked for, and he's known as like a producer lawyer, but he doesn't brand himself as that. So I learned everything through him. Shout out Adam Friedman. So if you niche down in something and you feel really confident in that thing and it's a rare skill, you're going to gain confidence. Like, that's it. So I know I'm in a privileged space. If I go to a room in a music, if I go into like a showcase and I introduce myself, hey, I work on the legal side of the industry. Basically everybody kind of wants like to meet me for the most part. And that's not like, I'm not trying to be like arrogant about it, but like you don't meet people who are in that space. So I think that the more like people try to just be individual and create a unique skill set, and that you are able to practice. The entrepreneur's journey is one of 1,000 pitches, 1,000,000 pitches. Like, you have to keep practicing your pitch. When I worked at this company called Rec Philly, I worked at the front desk. It was a creative incubator with like 1,000 creatives. So every day I would practice my pitch all the time. And until I like got it down, and I noticed, when I said it this way, this person's attention like propped up a little bit. And when I mentioned this, and when I like left this detail for the end, it worked better. Like all that type of stuff. So just paying attention to like how really like practicing your personal elevator pitch and writing it down is a huge thing. So yeah, I guess that's one way I gain confidence, is just knowing that I actually contribute unique value, and I niche down. Like I really can't, like I really think in this market, you just everybody's got to niche down if you want to find quick success.
Yeah.
Which is opposite of what people think.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to think about how that could really relay into other aspects, whether it's not just music and niching down in whatever it like maybe, podcasting,
becoming the best at anything in particular. Just as specific as you can get. I think that usually works.
Yeah.
But
some people in terms of like to some people, I wouldn't say like in the business space, but like something that I hear often is when they're creating like content, they hate like niches. Like they hate they just I want to be the brand, you know?
Yes.
And instead of like whatever I'm doing. Like for example,
yes.
This is a self-improvement podcast. Some people would be like, "Oh, like I don't want to just niche down to just self-improvement because of potentially one how many people may be doing that, or it's like you see like a Logan Paul where it's just like his podcast
Yes.
is Logan Paul.
Yeah.
You know, it's just him.
Yeah.
You bring anybody on and whatever, they can have deep conversations.
This is how I look at it. So, and I completely respect that. But I think you can only do one thing exceptionally well at a time. You can only develop one skill exceptionally well at a time. So, to get in, let's look at Kanye. He got in through the door through producing. That's what got him in. He put his all into being the best producer he can. Then you got in. Once you get that first thing and you get really good at it and you're in the door, then you can start exploring other things. But until then, you have to start somewhere, and you need to have one thing that gets you having the conversations. You can't start as a generalist in really anything. I mean, some things maybe, but like I think the best way to get into most things is to niche down as much as possible. And then once you're in there, learn that skill. You don't have to necessarily master it, but once you get in there, then you can start learning another skill. And then that's what an entrepreneur does. I mean, start with something, you understand how to make something, and then once you get there, now I have to learn how to market that thing. Now I have to learn how to build a team, and now I have to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. So it's like, well, YouTube, you can learn how to do anything. But yeah, so I do think it takes time to get to that point where it's like, you know, you don't want to be a one thing person, but I think especially in the content space, you got to be. And then, like, because especially the way the algorithm works, like, I'm in the producer space. I think every producer has seen my content because it's targeted towards producers. There's not that many producers, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's come across your feed at some point. If I put, like, so if it's good quality, it's going to get in there. And then I don't want to be just a producer lawyer either. That's just where I'm starting. And then everything else is going to start getting, you know, building around that once I'm in there. So
what are some other things that you want to embark on?
On the legal side, I think that, you know, just anything in really music. I mean, like, people told me it was unrealistic to want to go and be a music lawyer, and it's better to just be entertainment generally or intellectual property. But I don't really have any interest in any other section. So just in music in general. And I think just as my life picks up, I really like building companies. Or I think I will like building companies. I'm so new at it, but I like building systems for things, and I like the interpersonal side. So wherever that path takes me, I don't know where that's going to take me necessarily, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but we'll see where it goes. I like everything falls into line nicely for me usually, so I guess we'll see.
The unrealistic. I hate that that line when somebody says that it's something is unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it's, you know.
Yeah.
I guess it's in that regard. It's I guess it's where you kind of touched on the point where it's like confidence and ego. Mm-hmm. As long as you're confident in what you're putting out, I believe that as long as you believe in it, then everything else will kind of take its course. Mm-hmm. And you know, you're young and you made some great connections, and you're going to continue to network and do great things just because of the person that you are and the energy that you really bring. So I would say if somebody wants to be skeptic of you and where you're going to go, then I'd just say fuck them, honestly.
Yeah. I really struggle with that. I am like very much the opposite of what a lot of people say, where they could come on here and be like Pancho. Last time we had a conversation, like Pancho's like, oh, if they don't, you know, if they don't believe in my vision, blah, they say fuck them. I struggle with that a lot. I really care about what people think, and I value almost everybody's perspective, and I see it as a strength of mine. I lean into it as a strength, but I definitely realize it gets me into situations that like oftentimes don't serve me. You know what I mean?
You feel like sometimes it might hold you back?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the more I change up my environment and the more I notice how many different types of personalities I have, like sometimes like my family will watch me on camera and they'll be like, "That's not you. That's not how you act." And in my head, I'm thinking of like, think Jordan talks to his teammates the same way he talks to his mom. Think he's gonna talk to the people on the other team the same way he talks to his teammates. You think that like, you know, I think the strength of mine is I can adjust my personality to best fit whatever I'm dealing with. I think that's one of the most powerful things you can do. If you can adjust the way that you act to best serve this current situation. If I'm supposed to be we all have these different roles. We all have these different labels. We're a son, and we're a best friend, and we're an entrepreneur, and we're a content creator, and if they're all the same person, I think I don't know how far you can really go like that. And I think especially with the content side, like this is the point right now is to be entertaining and educational and inspiring. Like I know that. Now the entertaining part is something that like with a lot of like I need to put on a little bit of a show. And then years that like it'll take time, but like if you look at somebody like a Joe Budden, Adam 22, like any of those people who've been doing it a long time, now their personality's probably pretty much the same. But at first, you got to put on a little bit of thing until your personality settles to like where you kind of naturally sits, you know, because it feels like you're in a different world when the camera's on at first. So I think with time, if you're new to being on camera, your personality will settle into something that's like, you know, more natural. So. Yeah, I don't know. I see it as a strength that I have all these personalities and I adjust myself and I'm able to fit, you know, whatever I'm doing.
It's definitely been a struggle of mine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which part?
The part where, that's not you. And that's like something that I've been like battling recently. Hence the reason why I haven't really posted like a YouTube video in like a month. But just like those silent battles that you really kind of have with yourself, as people know me, and I'll probably elaborate this either on like another episode or, because at some point I would like to address it to everybody, but kind of making that distinction that people see you for sometimes what you are or like what you present, right? They see me and what I promote as, you know, 1%, like, you know, self-improvement every day. And sometimes people perception can get distorted of that. Like just because you're trying to grow 1% every day does not mean that you're sometimes barely making it out of bed. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes the only thing that you're able to do is like take a shower or barely show up at the gym. Mm-hmm. Like people see you as this figure that, oh yeah, you're positive like 24/7 all the time, when that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
And I presented that, and for me, that's hurt me, and that's also been a good thing because people are like, oh, like I can look up to you, and knowing that you're always gonna be okay, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. And then people will, you know, that may know me or they see me and they have a conversation with me, they're just like, well, I never knew that you were battling something, or you know, I'm always thinking that you're good or you're solid, but
yeah
it's not always the case.
And I really feel like that is a real strength of yours, that you are so transparent on your show about the personal battles that you're always going through, and then like completely vulnerable. So I that's what I really love about your show is how you're able to just keep this like comforting listening. Like it's almost like you would give us the opportunity to kind of be like your therapist in a sense, you know what I mean? Because you express to us like it seems like you're really asking for like advice, which is amazing. It's rare that really happens.
I mean, I love that shit. You know, I think it's even within the conversations like that we're having right now, and I guess I was reflecting of like, damn, I've never like really went into a public space and like. I usually get anxiety. When I step into like a public space, like, and hearing that you go to somebody and just like start a conversation, like that's inspiring. Like that is like, well, maybe I should want to try that someday.
Yeah. And I have my taglines. I've said this, I posted this on Threads, but like one thing that podcasting has taught me is the power of questions and the ability to open up doors. So like I have a list on my phone, thousands of questions, organized by type of person, by type of conversation, organized. So if I'm going to a space that's all hip hop artists, I'll take a look at that before the show. I have my favorites from that list, and I'll organize that. If I'm hopping on a call with, I used to get anxiety setting up these intro calls with people, and I used to think about it for days. Like, what am I going to say to them? Now I've saved questions from all of those calls that I have, and now I only look at it like 15 minutes before the call, save my top 10, have that on my phone while I'm on the call. I look at them, and it's like the antidote to anxiety is preparation usually. So if you could prepare for whatever it is, and socially, I think studying questions or studying things that you wrote down about yourself or just your elevator pitch or whatever it is, like my ultimate cheat code is the Notes app on my phone. Like I attribute any success I have to the Notes app on my phone. Like I abuse that shit. So yeah, so I fuck with it. But yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, I think that's an issue a lot of people experience with social anxiety. And like I said, I'm in a blessed place where it's like people kind of want to meet me. There's rarely a time that like once I tell people, I'm on the legal side, they're not like, oh shit, we're gonna talk. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a privilege though.
What has I know you like briefly touched on it, but what has like networking? Like how have you found that important? Like when did it click? Like networking is really the key to really elevating yourself and your circle.
I knew that going to the legal side, there's two sides to be successful. You gotta have the actual understanding of the legal side, or at least to start a law firm. To start a law firm in the legal side, you got to have the actual understanding of the law, the substantive understanding. And if you want to start your own law firm, you also have to have the clients. So for me, I knew that like the way I want to look at this is like I don't necessarily want to be a lawyer. I want to own a law firm and run a law firm. So I want to be a brand that kind of brings people in and has the relationship side. And in that, you also have the power to learn a lot too, because if you have what people do on the legal side is if I don't know how to do something, I'll hit up, hey, Avi, I know you know how to do this. I have this client, can we split this 50-50? I'll take the lead on whatever and I'll do most of the work, but can you just teach me how to do it? So for me, it just like, it was intuitive. If I want to have clients, I need to have relationships. And so that, for me, it was kind of intuitive, and it becomes addicting. Like it really becomes addicting. Like I really have a ton of fun like doing it and like seeing, and I don't like going to like random clubs and like even the most lit clubs like in the city. Cool, they're dope. But I'd much rather be at a shitty showcase at SOBs that like I tell my friends are like, yo, I want to come with you. I'm like, you don't want to go to these things. I like going to them because I like talking and meeting new people that even like, because they hit me up a year later, and it's just crazy how many seeds. Like I love the analogy of like, you just got to plant all these seeds, and then some of them will blossom and a lot of them won't. But like, you never know which one is going to be a fucking whatever. So it's fun for me. It's a challenge. I have a lot of fun doing it.
It's more or less that Jordan reference. You miss a thousand shots that you don't take.
Yeah.
And that's a great analogy. Whereas you're just continuously going to keep shooting and putting yourself in the space, because all it takes really is just one opportunity for yourself to be next level. Mm-hmm. You're always, I forgot who said this, but you're always like one guest, you're always like one meeting, you're always one interaction like away from that ideal scenario that you really want to be in. But it's just having the confidence enough to, okay, I'm just going to continuously doing it one more time, and just one more time, and just one more time
until that luck gets presented to you.
Yeah.
And then
it's not luck though.
Then it's not necessarily luck. And even if it is luck, you need to have the skill set to convert that luck into something. Like a lot of times luck walks right by people, and they don't have the skills to actually convert that lucky opportunity into something, whatever you want to call it. Right. So it's like, you got to have you got to plan like for the luck to come in. Like you can't just like, oh, the luck is here. Now it's time to figure out what the fuck I'm gonna. Yeah. So it's
always crazy how it's just considered luck, right? Yeah. But not many people see the shots that you've been taking. Not many people have seen, like, for example, the things that you go to that maybe your friends don't want to go to, or just those the constant attempts, and then after the constant attempts, you just finally find that right situation, that ideal situation. And then after that, it's considered luck. But before that, there wasn't any prior knowledge, or there wasn't anything that was visible enough to see, oh, you've been doing this really all along. It's like that one artist that just keeps dropping music,
Yeah.
or that one content creator that just keeps dropping and just keeps making the videos and
Yep.
just keep doing that. And then after, maybe the 1,000th try, now
Yeah.
they're okay. Now they're big. You know?
Yeah. And then they have to have the foresight too, where it's like, I got to build off what I was saying. Like, yeah, this one song hits. Finally, you've been putting in the work. You've been making all this music, and finally this one song, it busts on TikTok. It's reposted by the Kardashians. But then you don't know how to market yourself. You don't know how to schedule a tour. You don't have anybody that's going to handle your finances. So it's like you put all your time and energy into this one thing. You're way better off just like spreading your resources out and having that long-term foresight of like how I'm going to convert this future attention once I have it. You can't just like wait for that. You can't just make music, and that's obvious, but like you can't just make music and then hope that one song goes crazy, because how are you going to convert that and turn that into like a long-term career after that?
All right, the camera died.
So it's just me?
It is just you.
It's just me. Say less.
Memory card issues, but it's always something with the podcast.
Yeah, always something. I know the struggle.
Last question. I usually ask all the guests, what is something that you want to become 1% better at within your life? I know I asked you this last time.
1% better at every day for like something I'm working on.
Yeah.
Did you ask me this last time?
I did. I think I might have, actually. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure if I did. In the event that I didn't, what is something that you want to become 1% better in?
I want to become 1% better as a leader, and by that I mean I hosted my first company meeting on Wednesday, and like I said this earlier, but like I really appreciate the aspect of being able to sort of inspire and be a representative, like an embodiment of certain values. Like if you want a company to have these values in the long term, like to grow and scale, like there has to be that key person of influence, is the term I like to use. Shout out Daniel Priestley for coining that. But there has to be that key person of influence that is the literal embodiment of all those things, and is able to meet people. And even when I get to the point of like I'm a significant figure that like I meet somebody, it's a big moment for them, I want to still have that personal like touch to everything that I do. So I want to keep getting better at just being able to voice myself and express my beliefs and values, and like make meaningful interactions. I don't even know what words the word I'm using is leadership, but like I guess like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah,
I'm putting it together.
Yeah, and I just want to make people feel good, through business primarily, but in my daily interactions as well too, like whether it's not related to business. So that's how I feel.
I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for sparking this dialogue, because I learned a lot about myself, and I'm looking forward to watching this and continue this type of conversations.
Well, we'll have to do a part 2.
I'm down whenever.
In
literally
the future.
whenever. Literally whenever. Yeah. So I don't know.
Maybe 6 months to
Whenever
a year
it
from
is.
now. See exactly what space you're in.
Mm-hmm. Say less.
I'm going to do. Thank you guys. It might be close. It might not be close. Let me see. I want to be able to end it off in a. Oh yeah, that is very close. Sorry about that, guys. Probably cut this part out. I appreciate you guys rocking with us, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support. This is the 1% Podcast. I'm out.